Good afternoon. A warm welcome to everyone today. I'd like to introduce Richard and Sylvia. Sylvia of the Blue Bear Bookshop in Farnham. We are doing our first In Conversation series of talks, basically introducing you to passionate, independent shop owners here in Farnham. You might wonder why we're doing this. We really want to showcase local passionate shop owners in Farnham and show you the authentic experiences that you can gain from your local high street. Farnham is an internationally recognised craft town, and we're trying to encourage local residents to buy local. Please welcome Richard and Sylvia.
So, good afternoon. Sylvia, how are you?
Hello, how are you, Richard?
Well, the technology's working. That's a start, isn't it? So, look, can I just add my welcome to the one given to Michelle and thank you for being our first In Conversation in this series, as Michelle has explained, to perhaps showcase some independent businesses in Farnham, because as a Farnham Society, you know, we'd like to do what we can, particularly in current times, to sort of help promote the commercial attractiveness of the town. And we're all interested in making Farnham as great a place to live and to work and to shop as we possibly can. So look, I'd much prefer to be doing this with you, particularly in your lovely bookshop. But look behind me. I've done the best I could, Sylvia, to make it very book friendly by sitting in front of one of my bookcases. So you also have a cafe, so I've made sure, just to get us off to the right atmospheric start, which I enjoy when I come into your shop to have a cup of coffee. But let's get started. You opened when? November the 16th, I think, last year. It both seems a long time ago and actually not that long ago, because it's been a really strange year, and we'll get into the strange year perhaps a little bit later. But let me take you back to the beginning. Where did it all start for you? Was opening a bookshop something that you'd always had in mind? What's the story?
I think for me, bookshops have always, places like libraries and bookshops have always been a place where you feel safe and where you can just unleash your imagination. And as a child, I remember being always sort of curled up in a corner somewhere and reading a book, or at least flicking through the book. The reading much later.
So you were a bookworm, were you, as a youngster?
I think so.
Good for you. But how did that translate as an interest into what, after all, is quite a brave step, isn't it, to set up an independent bookshop with all that's going on with both, you know, independent retailers, but of course independent bookshops as retailers? It's not an easy environment.
No, it's not. And this is the reason why I made a conscious decision to add the cafe element to our bookshop. Because obviously we are surrounded by WH Smiths and Waterstones. So we needed to have something else to allow people, when they come in, to feel a little bit different. So
yeah,
right.
You know, I know Bruce Forsyth used to say this, but you've become my favourite venue in Farnham. I think part of it is you spoil my dog when I come in to see you. So you've made it very dog friendly as well, haven't you?
Yes. We love having dogs here. They're part of a family, so they need to be welcome.
So what you describe is more than just a retail sales outlet for books. It's did you have this sort of destination concept in mind?
I think what I wanted to do, well, first of all, I wanted to create a space that would allow people to feel equally safe and inspired and welcome. and I wanted to be a space where people would kind of lose themselves as well, but also, having said that, find themselves and find friendships. So hence why we have this large table here.
You've mentioned safe a couple of times in describing what you were seeking to do. Well, just explain that a little bit more to me. I always feel incredibly safe. Oh, actually, I always feel incredibly tempted coming into your shop. But what did you mean by safe?
I think obviously you can explain the word safe in so many different ways. For me, it's about providing warmth and security where you feel like you're amongst friends, that kind of safety, something familiar and something, yeah, I feel cool. I can, just take off my coat, kick back and feel at home.
Well, it's certainly been a very welcoming environment. So you must be pleased with the way that's been developing. But before coming to this current year, you used the phrase seek, inspire, curate. Now, I think that's a great phrase, but clearly some thought went into that. You had in mind a vision of seek, inspire, curate. I guess you've referred to some of that, but tell me a little bit more about why that's the sort of image and line, the three words you want to use to define the Blue Bear Bookshop.
Oh dear, I really didn't want to correct this because I actually thought it was genius, but I think it's actually a misunderstanding. It was seek, inspire, create.
Oh,
I really love the curate actually.
Well, I can't claim ownership of that. I just wrote it down, but seek, inspire, create's equally good. And I guess you've referred to that. So just talk to me about the seek bit, because that's not something I would associate with a retail environment.
Well, again, it's about finding something. Sometimes you don't even know you're looking for. It could be people, it could be a good book, it could be a conversation, it could be the music that we play, or the coffee that you drink, or the cake that you eat. We have a lot of aspiring authors coming in here and writing, for example. We have a lot of artists coming here and do drawing. So, and obviously we have a lot of students coming in here to study. So
you might find the next J.K. Rowling. Didn't she start in a coffee shop up in Scotland?
I guess so.
Yeah, let's hope. You've referred to the coffee, and let me sort of ask you a little bit about this, because I think you described it as being a point of difference. That you've mentioned Smith's, which is just a few yards along, and then you've got the Oxfam bookshop a little bit further, and Waterstones. And we should say we want all of them to succeed, but it's quite a brave move to sort of set yourself up as a bookshop in that environment. But yours was a cafe. So is it a cafe with a bookshop, or a bookshop where you can get coffee? And by the way, excellent piece of cake.
It's definitely a bookshop. That's what we have above our door. That's what we specialize in. Everything else just, as they say, is an icing on a cake.
But you're going to have to tell me about the Farnham blend then, because that seems a bit of a coffee speciality, and you talked to me about that the last time I came in. So what's the Farnham coffee blend? Have I got that right?
Yeah. So originally it was going to be just a one taste. As it turned out, we will have now two coffee blends that will belong to the Farnham town. One is the classic coffee blend, and the other one is indulgence coffee blend. So we had people of Farnham come in and they were tasting these two particular blends that were made specifically with Farnham people in mind. And the way we combined them was adding a little bit of what we normally have, our in-house coffee, and just sort of by me giving some keywords to our supplier, they made up the rest of it. And I thought, okay, let's go and see. One of them was bound to be a winner. As it happens, both were winners. So we're going to have two.
So you say you're going to have, you haven't yet got to that stage yet in terms of that being your coffee?
Yes, technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Just finished the design of the labels today. I've been meaning to do that for forever, but it's just one of those things that was being put on the
Well,
side.
that's something you're going to do, is it? Design the labels, or?
Well, it's already been done. So what I did is I have asked a local artist. She's actually just completed her MA at UCA. She's got a studio just across the street here. And she drew this beautiful building that we are in right now, town hall buildings. And yeah, her name is Lena McCall. And I thought that was quite exciting.
You've referred to the building. How significant was it finding this unit to launch your venture? Because it is a rather special, building, isn't it? The old town hall buildings.
Very much so. So this was property number 3. We started off in the Lion and Lamb yard and then proceeded sort of down the road, had a look at another property, Maison Blanc, and then obviously ended up here. What was attractive here was that actually this is the heartbeat of Farnham, and that was the deciding factor for us.
You mentioned coffee and the Farnham blend. Do you have any plans to extend that hospitality part of your difference of that offering?
Well, we source everything very carefully. So, for example, we have just had a delivery from our supplier of Italian chocolates. I'm looking around trying to pick them up to show them to you. So there they are.
Right, this is ruinous, isn't it? Coming to buy a book and you've now got Italian chocolates.
Yes. Again, only the best for Farnham. So, and they come also as cigars.
Right.
It's chocolate.
Excellent. So I referred to the year. I mean, you started in, I guess, you must have agreed, the terms of this unit and everything well before November the 16th last year. But, within 4 months, there you were having to shut down the business. So to say it's been a difficult year is an understatement by some distance, isn't it? But how has that affected you? I mean, there's an elephant in the room when talking to current independent retailers, which is, how do you get through this? How do you survive? How difficult really has this been for you as a new independent business just launched?
Yes, so it's been quite a journey. We are still on this journey, obviously. The first lockdown, the world has ended in my mind. And then my husband and I started to do home deliveries, where we were able to connect with some of our customers. It was extremely challenging purely because one of the book suppliers, has gone into administration during that time, although not officially until after the lockdown. So that left only one supplier. And unfortunately, because they obviously were adapting, there was a point where it was virtually impossible to get our hands on any books. And then they were only sending out one book at a time. So it was really, really difficult. But every time we saw our customers whilst doing the deliveries, reading the messages and emails as well, and the occasional wave when we'll be stuck here in the shop, continuing with our DIY. In fact, it gave us hope that not all is lost. And then slowly but surely, when the first lockdown ended, people started to come back. And what was wonderful and incredible, people who have not been before started to come in as well. So not just our previously older customers, but also new ones.
The last time I was with you, by the way, I should say, just in case others are watching this, I do go to other outlets in Farnham, but certainly I remember my last visit to your cafe. It was as busy as I've seen it. In fact, I think it was difficult to find a seat, and therefore it was amazing to see how things had recovered from July and were going, I guess, really well for you.
Yes, not quite sure what to say.
Well, I mean, I guess it leads me to the question of exploring the support from the community, in the sense that, you know, there you were, a new business, 4 months operation, pretty much 4 months shut.
Yes.
And then the holiday period, and you get up and running, and then by, you know, October, the business seemed to be continuing an upward growth curve.
Yes, that was extremely positive. We just started to obviously get our staff back slowly, but it was quite incredible and very much a pleasure to see people sharing the space again, almost like they did before. And yes, you know, we were celebrating each time there were no seats. Sounds really bad.
Well, no, it's terrific. Why Farnham? What brought you to Farnham?
So my husband and I came here because our youngest son started an animation degree at the UCA.
Yeah.
Autistic, and he wasn't able to come into sorry about that.
It could be a customer.
So yes, so he wasn't able to come here independently, so obviously we came with him, rented a place by university, and just threw ourselves into the whole new experience. What we didn't realize was how incredible this experience and this adventure and this whole journey was going to be. So one of the amazing things was that our son was able to navigate from our home to university and around the town by himself. And he was in fact one of the sort of nudging factors to make me think, what can I do for the town to say, well, thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And how long ago was this? How long have you been in Farnham?
So we have been here for 2.5 years.
Well done you. Yeah. So do you feel that the community, there is a community and it's a supportive community for retailing?
Oh yes, for retailing, for anyone. We do have a lot of people stop by when they're coming into town because they're looking to buy locally, and they always come in and chat to us and chat to other people as well. And I always sort of walking away feeling, oh my goodness, this is, you know, like a community. People speak to each other on the street and people care. So, yeah.
Let's come back to the hard aspect of running a retail business, because of course we have a lot of empty units, don't we, in Farnham, and there's likely to be more. And of course, that's without looking a little bit to the future with the new Brightwell retail units coming available. How do you read that for a town, an old market town like Farnham, in terms of maintaining that retail presence? Is it something that concerns you?
Yes, it does. What concerns me is obviously people do talk to us, so we do know that people are very sad about the fact that the town is rapidly becoming fairly sort of empty in terms of the retail presence, especially the independents and so on and so forth. So, you know, one of the sort of thoughts was during the first lockdown, wouldn't it be great to turn Farnham into an outdoor gallery or a museum by having the empty units covered in vinyls, representative of, you know, what Farnham used to be, with pictures, and obviously bringing in some of the new art as well. And people could scan a QR code, learn a little bit of history, learn about some of the artists here, and just have that kind of engagement on the outdoors.
Do you think there's enough profile given to us being a well-established arts community with a well-established School of Art, now UCA? Do we make enough of that as a town? I know, you know, the World Craft Town status is a new initiative, but in general terms, do you think we should do more to promote that?
Yeah, and I think there needs to be a lot more involvement with the university students. I do know that there is a very fragile relationship between residents and the university students, and I do know that the students are still sort of hoping for some kind of interaction, some kind of something. So it would be quite marvelous to be able to, you know, involve them in some of the happenings here, so they don't feel so isolated, because Farnham is not as huge as London, where people can just go and find their own sort of hubs. Farnham is one hub, and I think it would be excellent to, and it is possible, because I see it here in the shop all the time. I see, you know, students engaging and chatting with the customers and vice versa. Very curious when they see someone, you know, drawing or making something, and they have a conversation recently. So, well,
it's interesting because Farnham has this well-regarded university, as in University of the Creative Arts, and you know, where that benchmarks itself against other similar universities. Yet, to my mind, Farnham doesn't feel like a university town, a university location. What's your reflection on that?
Yes, that's true. It does not. It's very much, I think it seems like the students are kind of just a little bolt on. No, I mean, where we live, we get to hear them at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but that's fine. C'est la vie, you know, it's something that you learn to live with. But I think there could be more. I think there could be more. You know, obviously, I'm not talking about having a nightclub. I'm not talking about having more sort of places where they can get drunk, because students are not just about that. There's other things that students bring in and would like. So hence why, for example, pre-number 1 and pre-number 2 lockdown, we were doing sort of evenings, game nights, and we just started literally with the open mic for the university students as well, which was quite successful. And then obviously unfortunately, I went into lockdown and things changed. So we're hoping that this will, happen again when things get back to a little bit of normality.
It's interesting. I've just come from a meeting before our session with a representative of the student union at UCA, amongst many other organisations in Farnham. They joined us for this Farnham Connects meeting for the first time, and their input at the end was, I'd sort of paraphrase. He said, "Look, just before we end the meeting, I'd like to say that, as a group of students, we would love to get more involved in supporting Farnham." Then went on to say, because at the moment there's very little we can do. We've stopped partying, we've stopped this, we've stopped that. I'm not quite sure that was the way to express it for all the people in the meeting, but I think the point was that there was a desire for them to feel more part of supporting Farnham, which was a good thing to hear. And I think many of us need to think about how we might, correctly balance, because it's for everybody, but bring that more to life. And it seems to me you're right in the centre of that, Sylvia, aren't you? The ability to do that. Who knows? Let's talk about competition, because being an independent retailer with the gargantuan Amazon and click and collect, which I think has just had an accelerating trend through the pandemic months. How are you going to address competition as you get back into business and get back to normal? Do you have any specific plans?
So for us, we are in no position to compete with the sort of prices that obviously are being offered by Waterstones, Amazon, or WH Smith. We all know very well that they supply books at a more affordable amount. However, what people don't realize is by doing so, the authors get undercut. So their part, they're not getting. And on top of it, places like ours, we have to therefore become this almost like a mutant business in order to be able to at least, have a little spot on the high street. What we're hoping is that people will continue to come back because of the experience that they have when they are here, for those few moments when they are lost, and in a good way lost, in our bookshop.
What about click and collect or online ordering? I mean, what's your plans with regards to that?
So we have been doing click and collect. My husband built a little hatch, which...
Did you say hatch or a hutch?
A hatch.
Hatch.
A little hatch that fits in snug into the door when it's opened.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty special. People really like it. And you can have sort of your click and collect books being ordered, picked up from there, but also you can order coffee still and our cakes as well. Obviously, we have been working with reduced times, so and days, therefore, in order to try to catch up and maintain other things behind the closed doors. So quite often we are here, and quite often people try to come into the shop, not realizing we are actually not open.
One of the things that's very noticeable is that you've plastic wrapped, very smartly, I must say, all the books on your shelves. I mean, that was quite an undertaking, wasn't it? Was that done by machine? How did you do that?
For hand. So what we decided during the first lockdown is, again, we were not able to compete with Waterstones, for example, where they could put the books into quarantine. One of the reasons for it is we have only a single title of a book that you see on our shelf. Of course, we can order more books, but what you see is effectively what we have in the shop. So we felt we wanted the experience to be as safe as possible once the first lockdown ended. So we decided the best way to do it is to find a way of making sure that people feel reassured. And we've decided to film wrap our books, which we still do.
And have you had any sort of customer comment about that?
Yes, we feel very happy about this. We have had 2 people ask me over a message on Instagram, I've been to your shop. I wanted to have a look inside. I couldn't. So I left. By the way, how green are you? Well, as green as possible. So you can obviously recycle the film in exactly the same way as you would your coffee cup.
Right. And that was in your mind when you decided to do this, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Events at the shop. You talked about the students, but I understand, I think it was Michelle that told me this, that you had Tim Peake, the UK astronaut, visit the shop. That's a potentially interesting story, Sylvia. What is he? I was going to say an old boyfriend. I better not say that. But, how did that come about? How did Tim Peake come to visit your shop and presumably support, your first year of opening?
So one morning, his wife, the lovely Rebecca, came in and she wanted to order some books. And then she said, would you like for my husband to come in and sign some books? I said, yes, of course. Who is he, by the way?
Oh, no, come on.
So she said, Tim Peake.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay. I said, yeah, that would be great. Unfortunately, we couldn't publicize the event because obviously of COVID. So we just kind of made it very, oh, look, there's this lovely lady coming in. Oh, look, there's her husband, and he's just kind of going to sit there and sign some books. And obviously without announcing who it is. Although if you saw me that day, me flapping around and running around the whole table, sort of being a bit of a fangirl, you would question what's going on. But yes, so that was quite cool. And then obviously Rebecca and I stayed in touch, and she then sort of said, if you like, we can get some more stuff done. So we shipped some books over to their house, and Tim signed them. And then, in a very inconspicuous way, my husband met Rebecca in a car park and picked the boxes up. And then we were able to offer some more books to those that have missed getting some signed.
I think that's a lovely way of I think it sort of sums up your attitude to creating this community type of hub, which is your bookshop, that, it's not been a grand sort of commercial enterprise. Do you have plans for anybody else to come in and do something similar, or have you had visits from anybody else?
So we have been approached by various different authors. It doesn't feel right to have any event. It would feel wrong at the moment. We'd prefer for people to have the experience of an author to be inside of the bookshop rather than just online, which we know that other bookshops have been doing. So we're just leaving it for when it's safe to do that, and then we'll be able to have authors back in and to do some signings. And obviously there's a talk of various different writing workshops as well. I know that people really enjoyed when we did have them. And obviously we are, for the children, we are registered with the Pokemon League. So we will be able to run the events to do with that soon, hopefully.
I'm sure when you started this bookshop, you had in mind sort of some examples of, of how we would develop this, who would be a good example of, what success looks like that exists as a bookshop? What I have in mind here is, Hay on Wye and the Hay Festival, it all developed from somebody setting up the first secondhand bookshop and creating a destination for secondhand bookshops and bookshops in Hay. Is there any particular, competitor that you look at and say, that's what I'd like us to develop to in the future?
I don't know about competitor, but
somebody in the same sector, I should say, or
no, I think an inspiration, maybe, sort of, but yes, not. I haven't got a vision of, yes, this is where we're aiming. I think this is very much an organic business, so hence why we don't necessarily advertise in the same way as other people do. I mean, we literally just sent out a very first newsletter on our birthday because we just don't shout about ourselves. Perhaps we should, but we don't. What means to us more is when people come in and say, I've heard about you from a friend. So
well, that's good as that spreads, isn't it? So, December the 3rd will soon be on us. Do you have any plans for the reopening after lockdown this time round?
So we have a few cases of mulled wine here waiting.
Right.
I have already made an amazing order for a different kind of a cake. It's like a mince pie shortbread thing combo. So I would like to hear what people think about that.
So you're straight into the run up to Christmas, I guess.
Yeah.
If you could have one or two things different about Farnham, if you were able to say, I'd like to change this, or I'd like this to be developed to help you as an early phase independent retail business, what would you like that to be?
Oh, that's a good one. I think what I absolutely love about Farnham is the markets that we have here on Castle Street. I think fabulous. It would be really, really, really cool to have more of those because it just brings people together, which obviously we can't do right now. I know.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Christmas one has had to be cancelled, hasn't it? Yeah.
But it's that bringing communities together that would be amazing.
But is the bigger position on that pedestrianisation?
Yeah, I mean, I think Farnham does lend itself very much to the sort of a place that could be anywhere in Europe, with cafes outside, people just, again, enjoying seeing each other and seeing friends, family, interacting with one another. And I think by not having so many cars going through this beautiful town, which is extremely fragile, the buildings are not, not appreciating all the big sort of lorries driving through where the whole house shakes. Even the little cottage where we live, we can feel when cars go by. So it would be nice to preserve it. And I think the new sort of the Brightwells, is it, place, they're thinking about having sort of like a square. I think we could have that. There's lots of places to park where you just park up and you spend a whole day in Farnham, beautiful town. Hopefully we'll have more businesses that would offer people somewhere to stop by and enjoy. And we have a gorgeous park. Farnham should be the place where you go, yes, today, children, we are off to Farnham to hang out, like people say about going to the seaside. Farnham should be like that.
Well, you touch on something I was just going to come to a conclusion about. And as the Farnham Society, we exist to try and, make the most of what a great place Farnham has become or has been, with its buildings and its people and its stories over the years. What would you like to see a contribution from the Farnham Society? Because we have an interest in the commercial success of the town through all its retailers. Is there anything you would say to us that you'd like to see us do more of?
I think it was really, really exciting chatting to you guys about, having the outdoor virtual, sort of not virtual, outdoor gallery museum, sort of utilizing the empty shops so people feel like this is really cool, people care about this town still. It would be really, really good if there was some talks. I don't know, maybe there are some films that could be shown on the history of Farnham, and do you know what I mean? Just sharing what this place is about. Sorry, I'm going to call.
We've got more to tell and more to say and more to demonstrate than perhaps we actually take the opportunity of doing. But doing these virtual things, these in conversations, may give us a new way forward to share some of that. So let me just end with this, because we've had about half an hour. I mustn't overstay my welcome. But what would mean you achieve your dream?
I think so one of the things that we wanted to be as soon as we opened the door is we wanted to give the impression that we've always been here. Putting that impression aside, I think we'd like to be here as, part of the many chambers of Farnham's heart that beats really loudly, really prominently out there, and for people to see Farnham again the way it used to be, right there in the center of it, in the middle of everything.
I'm sure we would all support that. We wish you great luck for the future and for emerging out of lockdown 2, and hopefully we can all avoid lockdown 3. But this is my very final question. Why is it called the Blue Bear Bookshop?
Yes, hooray.
Wow.
So this is a book. It's translated from German, and it's the 13 and a half lives of Captain Blue Bear.
Oh.
Yes, and it was the first book that our youngest son actually read that wasn't a manga book, and it also inspired him to go on his creative adventure. So we obviously had to somehow link in with our family the name of the bookshop. So the book is German, my husband's German, Blue Bear, you put it as 2 words, then it's BB, and that's our youngest son's nickname. And then you have the color blue, which our eldest son loves. And it's a book, which it's for me. I love it.
Brilliant. Well, as I said, we wish you great luck. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Sylvia, and for giving us time this afternoon. And well, we look forward to coming back and having a Farnham coffee, Farnham brand coffee, not too long in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. A big thank you to Richard and Sylvia. What a fantastic conversation. And I can't wait to join Richard in that Farnham blend coffee and a piece of cake, of course.